Hailey Thompson, 40 years old, is a production manager at Meridian Tech, a medical device manufacturing company based in Columbus, Ohio. She has worked there for 15 years, rising through the ranks with quiet determination and unwavering dedication. Hailey is the kind of person who prefers action over words. Though she never seeks the spotlight, her presence on the factory floor is undeniable. With exceptional organizational skills and a deep understanding of the production process, she ensures that the assembly lines operate seamlessly day in and day out. Her work directly supports hospitals across the eastern United States, delivering life-saving equipment on time and without error. Colleagues describe her as calm under pressure and always one step ahead when problems arise. She's known for her hands-on leadership style, often jumping in to assist when issues threaten to delay a shipment. What sets Hailey apart isn't just her technical expertise, but her ability to train and empower her team. New hires often credit her with helping them succeed, thanks to her patient, practical guidance. While she rarely raises her voice or commands attention, the respect she commands is genuine and widespread. In an environment where precision and speed are critical, Hailey is the reliable force that keeps everything and everyone on track. Her leadership may be understated, but it's the kind that makes all the difference. If you're still listening, we want to sincerely thank you for spending your time with us. Truly means a lot. We'd love to know, where in the world are you watching from? Drop your country in the comments and let's see how far this message has reached. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, I highly recommend doing it now so you won't miss any of our upcoming stories. These aren't just ordinary stories, they're filled with meaningful life lessons that can inspire, teach, and stay with you long after the video ends. Hit that subscribe button and join our growing community. Meridian Tech was founded by Evelyn Carter, a sharp-minded, determined woman who transformed a tiny workshop into a $25 million medical device enterprise. For over 3 decades, Evelyn poured her energy into building a company known for its precision, reliability, and unwavering commitment to quality. She wasn't just a businesswoman, she was a visionary, respected across the industry. But behind every great leader is someone they trust implicitly. For Evelyn, that person was Hailey Thompson. "She's the only one I trust to maintain our standards," Evelyn once told a board member during a heated discussion about automation. Hailey had become much more than just a production manager. She was Evelyn's right hand, her problem solver, the calm in every storm Meridian had weathered. Evelyn had always believed in legacy, not just in business, but in people. And she believed Hailey embodied the spirit of Meridian. But time catches up with everyone. When Evelyn was diagnosed with heart failure, the decision to retire wasn't easy. She didn't want to walk away from the company she built, but she had to. Her son, Liam Carter, 29, had just completed his MBA in Boston and was eager to step into her shoes. Young, ambitious, and brimming with confidence, Liam arrived with a vision. He spoke often of breakthrough growth, digital transformation, and strategic restructuring. Liam didn't just want to run Meridian, he wanted to reinvent it. To him, the steady, traditional methods that had made Meridian successful seemed outdated. He viewed Hailey and the long-serving staff not as pillars of the company, but as obstacles. He rarely asked questions about how things worked, he already believed he had better answers. Where Evelyn saw strength and consistency, Liam saw stagnation. He wanted to modernize operations quickly and sweep aside anything or anyone that didn't align with his plan. Just 1 week after officially taking the reins, Liam summoned Hailey to his office. She walked in, still in her production floor uniform, clipboard in hand. Conversation was brief. "We need fresh energy to lead Meridian into the future," Liam said, folding his hands over a sleek digital dashboard printout. "People like you, you're holding us back." There was no preamble, no room for discussion. Just a clean cut. Hailey sat still, expression unreadable. After a long pause, she gave a faint nod, stood, and left without another word. No argument, no protest. That wasn't her style. Back at her workstation, she packed her belongings into a single cardboard box, the same one she'd used years ago when Evelyn first promoted her to management. Around her, the factory floor was quiet. Some of the newer employees she had trained, the ones she'd patiently guided through their first product assembly, who had once relied on her for everything, couldn't meet her eyes. A few of them had tears forming, but no one said a word. Hailey didn't expect them to. They were scared. She understood. With 15 years of service, knowledge, and loyalty reduced to a single exit walk, Hailey pushed open the side door and stepped into the sunlight. But what Liam didn't realize was that Evelyn Carter had foreseen this scenario. Years earlier, during a routine review of executive contracts, Evelyn had added a special clause to Hailey's employment agreement, a safety net, one of the few personal gestures she had made in a lifetime of business pragmatism. Clause stated that if Hailey were ever terminated without just cause, she would receive a severance package equivalent to 18 months of salary, roughly $270,000. Hailey had never thought much about that clause before. She never planned to leave. Meridian was home, or at least it used to be. Now, sitting behind the wheel of her car, parked across the street from the factory, she stared at the building she had helped shape. The quality control systems, the layout of the assembly lines, even the safety protocols, she had had a hand in all of it. Her fingerprints were everywhere, though no plaque bore her name. She didn't need one. Strangely, she didn't feel anger. Just a deep, calm detachment. Like watching a storm from behind a glass window. She picked up her phone and called Rachel Nguyen. Rachel had been her roommate in college, sharp, fiercely loyal, and now a successful labor attorney with a reputation for strategic negotiation. They hadn't spoken in a few months, but Rachel answered after 2 rings. "Hailey." Rachel's voice was warm. "You all right?" "Got some news," Hailey replied evenly. "You still like going up against tech companies?" Rachel paused, then laughed lightly. "Always. What happened?" "I just got fired by a kid with buzzwords and no clue. There's a clause in my contract," Evelyn added. "I need someone to make sure I walk out with what's mine." Rachel didn't hesitate. "Send me the agreement. I'll get started tonight." As Hailey ended the call, a quiet certainty settled in her chest. She hadn't lost everything. She'd lost a title, a desk, a daily routine, but not her integrity, not her experience, and not her value. And if Liam thought her departure would be the end of her story, he was sorely mistaken. Before she became the steady hand behind Meridian Tech's production floor, Hailey Thompson was a mechanical engineer with a sharp mind and relentless work ethic. She hadn't come from privilege. Instead of a fancy university, she earned her degree from a community college, graduating with top honors. She chose the practical path, one that allowed her to stay close to home, care for her mother, and build a life rooted in stability. 5 years ago, her mother passed away after a long battle with cancer. It was a loss that quietly reshaped Hailey's world. In the years since, she devoted herself even more deeply to 2 things: her daughter Mia, now 16, and her work at Meridian. Mia was a bright student, driven and kind, with dreams of becoming a doctor. Hailey poured everything she had into supporting that dream, saving what she could, picking up extra shifts, and building a future from small, consistent choices. To Hailey, stability wasn't just a preference, it was a guiding principle. It shaped the way she led her team, how she structured production, and why she resisted flashy changes that risked the integrity of Meridian's devices. Patients' lives depended on every screw, every sensor. There was no room for shortcuts. Evelyn Carter understood that. She wasn't just Hailey's boss. She was like an older sister, demanding, principled, but deeply human. Evelyn had always made space for Hailey's responsibilities outside of work. When Hailey's mother was hospitalized, Evelyn insisted she take the time she needed. She even set up flexible scheduling and made sure the company benefits covered the best care available. And when Mia was accepted into an advanced academic program that required extra tuition, Evelyn quietly arranged a scholarship through the company's education fund. It was the kind of loyalty that couldn't be measured in spreadsheets. But 6 months ago, things started to shift. Liam Carter began appearing in meetings, unannounced at first, then more regularly. He brought a polished laptop, a practiced smile, and PowerPoint decks filled with buzzwords: digital pivot, supply chain optimization, operational disruption. To those who didn't know better, he sounded like the future. But to Hailey, it was a red flag. Liam proposed outsourcing parts production overseas to cut costs. He floated the idea of downsizing the in-house quality control team, insisting that automation and third-party audits would suffice. Hailey had seen this logic before in industry journals, always framed as progress. But she knew the reality. Medical devices required meticulous oversight. There were no second chances when a monitor failed or a surgical tool malfunctioned. She pushed back carefully and with data. Evelyn listened. Sometimes she overruled Liam behind closed doors, never publicly, never harshly, but clearly. Hailey noticed the subtle corrections. Proposal shelved. Process left intact. But the writing was on the wall. When Evelyn announced her retirement, Hailey felt a deep unease settle in her chest. The news came during a company-wide meeting where Evelyn spoke warmly about legacy, about values. She thanked the team, praised Hailey by name, and asked only one thing of her son: keep the core team. They built this place. Liam smiled, then glanced at the audience. "Mom," he said in the tone of a man humoring someone out of touch, "I know what I'm doing." Hailey felt her heart sink. It wasn't just the words, it was the certainty behind them. Liam had already made up his mind. From that moment on, she knew the storm was coming. She just didn't know how quickly it would arrive. The morning after her termination, Hailey sat at her kitchen table with a mug of coffee, stacks of papers spread out in front of her. Rachel was across from her, flipping through the employment contract, a red pen in hand. The silence between them was focused, methodical. Then Hailey's phone buzzed. The caller ID read, "Evelyn Carter." She hesitated for a moment, then picked up. "Hailey." Evelyn's voice sounded thinner than usual, fragile, uncertain. "Yes," Hailey replied calmly. I just heard from Liam," Evelyn said, her words faltering. "He told me you weren't cooperating with his new direction, that you were slowing down the process." Hailey let out a breath, steady and sharp. "Ask your son if he has any proof of that," she said coldly. "Any written warnings, any documentation at all." Evelyn didn't respond right away. There was only a long sigh on the other end. "I'm so sorry," Evelyn finally said. "He's not just letting you go. He's already terminated 5 others. Marcus, Sophie, even Daniel from logistics." Hailey's eyes narrowed. Marcus had been head of engineering for nearly 20 years. Sophie was one of the most precise quality inspectors in the region. Her reports were used as benchmarks. "They were part of the backbone," Evelyn whispered. "Like you." Hailey nodded slowly. "Rachel's handling it. We're going to demand full compensation according to my contract." Evelyn said nothing. Hailey could tell she was torn between her loyalty to the company, to her son, and to the people who had built Meridian with her. But this was no longer Evelyn's decision. That door had closed the day she handed over control. After the call ended, Rachel looked up, raising an eyebrow. "We're not just dealing with impulsiveness," she said. "This is a pattern. That strengthens our case." Hailey leaned back in her chair. "You think they'll fight it?" Rachel smirked. "If they're smart? No. But even if they do, we'll win." Contract's language was clear. Termination without cause triggered a severance package of 18 months' salary. Rachel, with 2 decades of labor law expertise, had handled dozens of similar cases and won them all. She tapped a clause with her pen. He has no paper trail, no performance warnings, no documented restructuring plan. This isn't a layoff, it's a purge. And you weren't the only target. Hailey nodded, her expression cool but resolute. It's not just about the money. I want them to acknowledge what they threw away. What experience is worth? Later that afternoon, she began reaching out to the others. One by one, she called Marcus, Sophie, and the rest of the terminated team. Some were still in shock, unsure of what their options were. Others were angry, confused, and disheartened. Check your contracts, Hailey told each of them. You may have protections like I do, so Rachel can help. We're stronger if we stand together. Her calm voice gave them something to anchor to. Most had never dealt with legal action before, but with Hailey guiding them, they began to believe they could fight back. When the last call was done, Hailey stared out the window for a long time. The factory's silhouette wasn't visible from her modest home, but she could picture it, the production floor, the rhythm of machines, the quiet coordination of a team that had once worked like a living organism. That system had taken years to build, and in less than a week, it had begun to unravel. But not all doors were closed. Hailey picked up her phone again and scrolled through her contacts until she found the name, Olivia Grant. Olivia was the president of Biotech Solutions, a smaller but fast-growing competitor in the medical technology space. For years, Olivia had admired Hailey's reputation from afar and had once floated the idea of working together. Though Hailey had politely declined, her loyalty to Evelyn had been too strong. Now, things were different. The line rang twice before Olivia picked up. Hailey Thompson, Olivia said, a grin practically audible in her voice. I was wondering when I'd hear from you. Hailey chuckled softly. Still interested in talking? Are you kidding? I've been waiting for this day for a long time. Her tone was warm, enthusiastic, and serious. Biotech had recently received funding to develop a new line of advanced medical sensors, and they needed someone with operational excellence and real-world production experience to lead the charge. Olivia had always believed Hailey was that person. Hailey's fingers tightened slightly around her phone. I've got time now, she said simply. Good, Olivia replied. Because I've got a project, a team, and a budget, and they're all waiting for you. For the first time in days, Hailey allowed herself a small smile. The fight with Meridian wasn't over, but her future was no longer uncertain. It was unfolding. And this time, she would build something on her own terms. A week later, Hailey found herself in a sleek, glass-walled office in downtown Columbus. The room was modern, but the atmosphere was anything but relaxed. She sat across from Liam Carter and Meridian Tech's attorney, Ethan Marks, a corporate lawyer with a sharp suit and a carefully neutral expression. Liam leaned back in his chair, confidence radiating from every gesture. We terminated your position, he said coolly, because you couldn't keep up with our strategic direction. Meridian's future doesn't include people who cling to outdated systems. Rachel, seated beside Hailey, didn't flinch. She calmly opened a folder and slid a highlighted page of the employment contract toward Ethan. This clause, she said, tapping it with her pen, clearly states that termination without just cause requires 18 months severance pay. Ethan adjusted his glasses. And what, exactly, is your definition of just cause? Rachel didn't blink. Ethics violations, criminal conduct, or documented poor performance. So unless you've got written proof of any of those things, the clause stands. Ethan shuffled through a thin file. Hailey watched, unsurprised, as he found nothing. There were no performance reviews, no write-ups, no misconduct reports. Just vague notes from Liam, dated after the termination. Liam's tone shifted, sharper now, irritated. We're offering 3 months' pay as a gesture of goodwill. That's more than generous. Rachel gave him a tight, practiced smile. 18 months or we go to court. And when we win, you'll also be paying my fees." Before Liam could respond, the door creaked open. Evelyn Carter stepped into the room. She looked thinner, more fragile than Hailey remembered, but her eyes still held the same quiet authority that had once commanded an entire company floor. The room went still. "Liam," she said, voice firm but shaky from fatigue, "stop this." He stood abruptly. "Mom, you're not." "I am still on the board," she interrupted, her gaze ice cold. "And I saw this coming." Outside the glass office, Hailey could see mother and son retreat into the hallway. Through the pane, their silhouettes argued, Evelyn gesturing, Liam visibly defensive. No words could be heard, but the tension was unmistakable. 10 minutes later, they returned. Evelyn walked past Liam and addressed Ethan directly. "Prepare the full severance agreement per Hailey's contract," she said. "No negotiations." Liam's eyes burned with frustration. He turned to Hailey with a sneer. "You think this win means anything? You won't get another job. No one's hiring washed-up managers. You're past your prime." Hailey didn't react with anger. She simply smiled. Because she was already thinking about her next move, about Olivia Grant and the offer that was already on the table to co-found a company focused on the very market segment Liam had dismissed as not profitable enough. 10 days later, Hailey checked her bank account and saw the $270,000 transfer. It was a symbolic victory, but more importantly, it was fuel. She didn't rest. She got to work. Together with Olivia, she co-founded VitalCore Innovations, a company dedicated to producing high-precision medical sensors designed for hospitals that needed reliability above all. The target market? Smaller and mid-sized hospitals that Meridian had begun to overlook in favor of flashier, higher-margin clients. Hailey called Marcus and Sophie. Both had been left adrift since their terminations, loyal veterans with nowhere to direct their talent. They didn't hesitate. She reached out to 4 more former Meridian employees who had recently resigned in protest of Liam's leadership. One had been with the logistics team. Another had overseen supply chain procurement. Each one brought a piece of Meridian's former soul. Within 2 months, VitalCore had signed its first 2 contracts with respected hospitals in Cincinnati and Pittsburgh, both longtime clients of Meridian who had grown increasingly dissatisfied with declining product quality and delivery delays. While VitalCore grew in quiet confidence, Meridian was unraveling. Under Liam's leadership, key components had been outsourced to cheaper, less reliable vendors. Equipment defects became more frequent. One hospital reported a monitor failing during a pediatric surgery. Luckily, there was a backup device on hand. Another canceled their contract outright after discovering inconsistent calibration data in a batch of diagnostic sensors. In a scramble for cash flow, Liam authorized the sale of several high-end manufacturing machines, equipment that had once been the pride of Meridian's production floor. The sales brought quick money but left gaps that slowed down operations even more. Inside the company, morale plummeted. Resignations rolled in. Entire teams left within weeks. Finn, the company lawyer, began voicing legal concerns about ongoing labor violations and the possibility of breach of contract lawsuits from other former employees. The board grew restless. Then, one evening, Evelyn called Hailey. "Can you come over?" she asked quietly. Hailey arrived at the Carter home to find Evelyn seated near the fireplace, shoulders slumped but eyes alert. The house, once filled with warmth and control, now felt heavy with regret. "Meridian is collapsing," Evelyn said softly. "Liam doesn't have the experience or the humility. The board is concerned. They're considering new leadership." Hailey sat down, waiting. "They want to meet you," Evelyn continued. "Not as an employee, as a potential executive leader. CEO, perhaps. Someone who can rebuild what's left." Hailey said nothing at first. She felt the weight of what Evelyn was asking. Not just a return to the company that had turned on her, but a return to clean up the mess made in her absence. "I'll meet the board," she said after a moment. "But I'm not promising anything." Because now she had a company of her own, a team she'd handpicked, a vision built on principles Liam had tossed aside. And for the first time in a long time, Hailey Thompson was in a position not just to rebuild but to choose. Cảm ơn bạn đã nhắc. Dưới đây là bản đầy đủ độ dài 1.000 từ, với phần kết truyện được mở rộng hơn, các bài học sâu sắc hơn, và phần kêu gọi ở cuối được triển khai đầy đủ theo yêu cầu. 1 month after her termination, Hailey Thompson sat once again in a Meridian Tech conference room. But this time, she wasn't here to defend her worth. She was here as a potential solution. The boardroom buzzed with tension. Across from her sat the directors, executives who had once relied on her systems but failed to protect them. Meridian Tech, once a $25 million powerhouse in medical manufacturing, was now in steady decline. 2 major clients had walked. Quality reports were raising red flags. Employee turnover had reached an all-time high. Evelyn Carter, now only an honorary board member, sat quietly at the end of the table, her expression calm but urgent. The company she had built was crumbling in her absence, and she knew there was only one person capable of salvaging it. Chairman cleared his throat. "Miss Thompson, what would it take for you to return?" Hailey glanced around the room. She didn't come for validation. She came with clarity. "I will not work under Liam Carter," she said. "And I won't return as a figurehead. If you want Meridian back, you'll need to give me full operational control, hiring, budget, strategic direction. And I want the autonomy to collaborate externally where necessary." There was a pause. Some exchanged looks of hesitation. But Evelyn, eyes steady, gave a single quiet nod. "She's right," she said. "If you want to survive, let her lead." 2 days later, Liam submitted his resignation under board pressure. His bold ideas and dismissive attitude had not only damaged internal morale, they'd cost the company its credibility. With his exit, Meridian took its first breath of real hope in months. Hailey was named interim CEO. But her return wasn't about proving herself. It was about rebuilding what mattered. Her first action? Announcing a partnership between Meridian Tech and her new company, VitalCore Innovations. VitalCore, though only months old, had already earned the trust of 2 regional hospitals. The startup specialized in precision medical sensors, a segment Liam had once dismissed as unprofitable. Now it was their fastest-growing opportunity. Hailey rehired Marcus, Sophie, and others from the old Meridian team. With their help, she stabilized operations, restructured production standards, and gradually restored Meridian's name in the market. Quality levels began to rise. Clients, reassured by Hailey's presence, reopened discussions. Inside the company, the mood began to shift from despair to quiet optimism. But the victory wasn't just corporate. It was deeply personal. Hailey was no longer just a production manager or even a CEO. She was an example to her daughter Mia, now preparing her college applications, and to every overlooked professional who had ever been told their value was outdated. One evening, while reviewing reports at home, Mia walked in holding an acceptance letter. She'd been admitted to a top pre-med program with scholarships. "I got in," she whispered, eyes wide. Hailey smiled, pulling her into a hug. "I knew you would." For the first time in years, the future felt wide open, not because things had gone according to plan, but because Hailey had refused to give up when they didn't. 5 powerful lessons from Hailey Thompson's story. When experience is not a liability, it's your leverage. When Liam looked at Hailey, he saw an outdated relic. What he failed to understand was that experience, especially in fields like healthcare and manufacturing, isn't something you can replace with software or theory. It's built through consistency, mistakes, and wisdom. Hailey's deep understanding of production, people, and consequences made her irreplaceable. 2. Don't let someone else's short-term vision define your long-term value. Liam was focused on quick wins and flashy growth. Hailey understood the long game. Her patience, discipline, and refusal to panic are what positioned her to return stronger. She knew her value and waited for the right opportunity to show it again on her terms. 3. Never walk into battle alone. Build your support system. Hailey didn't go into her conflict with Meridian blindly. She had Rachel, a trusted, skilled legal expert who ensured her rights were respected. She had former colleagues who believed in her. She even had Olivia, a visionary partner who helped build something new when the old system shut her out. You don't have to fight every battle solo. The right allies matter. For power is quiet. Respect is earned. Liam led with arrogance and authority. Hailey led with calm, competence, and clarity. She didn't raise her voice, but everyone listened. She didn't chase power, but it found her. In the end, it wasn't noise or dominance that saved the company, it was her quiet, grounded leadership. 5. Setbacks aren't endings. They're pivots. Getting fired could have broken Hailey. Instead, it became the catalyst for something better. She started a company, inspired others to follow, and eventually returned with more power than she had ever imagined. Her story proves that a setback isn't the end. It's just the beginning of a new chapter if you're brave enough to turn the page. Hailey Thompson's journey is more than a corporate comeback story. It's a testament to resilience, principle, and the power of staying true to your values in a world that often forgets them. Whether you're in a toxic workplace, facing unfair treatment, or rebuilding from a loss, know that you are not alone and you are not powerless. Let her story remind you, quiet strength is still strength. And real leadership doesn't have to scream to be heard. If this story moved you or gave you something to think about, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue telling stories of courage, growth, and redemption. Together, let's build a community that uplifts the real heroes, the quiet ones who rise, rebuild, and lead by example.